So nobody actually expected this movie to be good, right? Like nobody was thinking, we need to see Aquaman the movie. On top of that, it's part of the DC Extended Universe that has been, for the most part, horrible. So I really don't know who was expecting much of anything here. So in this movie, we've got a lighthouse keeper who finds a passed out woman on the shore, brings her into his home, and she wakes up and eats his goldfish because she's from Atlantis. But like if you woke up in some stranger's house, you wouldn't immediately raid the refrigerator, right? So he of course knocks her up. They have a kid. So they name him Arthur. They go ahead and explain to the audience that they're naming him Arthur after King Arthur, just in case we don't get that connection. Arthur grows up, he finds out he's the one true king of Atlantis, which is currently being run by an evil king, and he has to go and claim his birthright and stop the evil king who is plotting to unite the seven seas and attack Earth because they pollute the water. Kind of a reverse Black Panther situation where Orm, Arthur's half-brother, who already is king, is the bad guy, and Arthur has to go and stop him and take over the kingdom. I could at this point, in a nice snarky tone, say, stop me if you've heard this one before, but it's a plot that certainly has worked in the past and not worked in the past. The problem here is where Killmonger was one of the most interesting villains. We don't get that here. Orm is pretty standard. There's plenty of ways we could have made him conflicted, even question whether or not is he really the bad guy, and we just skip out on that completely for just a generic villain. Arthur doesn't really have a goal. Now I know it sounds like I just said he does. He's got to stop Orm. You know that part of the hero's journey, the refusal to the call? That's the majority of the movie for Arthur. Arthur through this whole thing, I don't want to be king. I don't want to save Atlantis. I don't care about Atlantis. Wah, wah, wah. He's not invested in this. Orm's the one with the goal. This is a problem we had in movies like Insurgent. If in A Wizard of Oz, Dorothy didn't want to go home, if she showed up and was like, Oz is great, I'm going to stay here forever, then it's really a movie about the witch trying to get her shoes back. There's trials, events that our hero has to go through, and they grow him as a character, and they maybe even advance the plot as a bonus. And then you have just straight up side quests, which maybe don't really contribute to the plot, but at least are fun, and you get the impression that the filmmakers and the writers included them because they thought we would have a good time with them. If you're familiar with my work, I'm a little bit guilty of the side quest issue myself. But then there's padding, and this movie has more padding than a 13-year-old's brawl. We will have, through narration, Arthur explain to you things as you're seeing them. They're showing us these things while the narrator tells us what's happening, and then they follow that up with as you know dialogue, where characters will explain to each other what they already know, referring back to the stuff they just showed us with a narrator telling you what's happening as you're seeing it, and it's all just blatantly transparent padding to just get this thing up to a standard movie length. What's really strange is they act as if they're doing this almost Tolkien-like world building about Atlantis and the Seven Seas. There's really not a lot to it. Atlantis sank, people became amphibious, they make some rules about how the monarchy works, only to break those rules every 5 seconds. The characters should have difficulty obtaining their goals, that they should run into conflict along the way, but it's only the illusion of conflict. For example, Arthur has his boat attacked by these demonic fish people. Does he fight them off to get to his goal? No, he just jumps into the water and swims where he was going anyways. For all intents and purposes, you could digitally edit out the monsters and the scene really isn't any different. It's a pretty scene though. And he goes to get this magic trident. We're going to come back to the magic trident. But oh, there's a sea monster that guards the trident. Okay, he's got to defeat the sea monster. The sea monster is just like, oh, you can talk to fish. We'll have a trident. But the trident has to accept you. Okay, so he's got to convince the trident to let him have. No, he just takes the trident. It's these fake conflicts that don't really obstruct the hero's journey at all. He's just kind of floating through this thing the entire time, acting like he just couldn't give a fuck if he succeeds or not. Is anyone noticing that we keep calling things tridents that aren't tridents? But throughout this movie, we keep seeing tridents tridents that have like 5 points. I know I'm nitpicking here, but that's not a trident. A trident, by definition, has 3 prongs. Does anybody else notice that it's kind of weird that Poseidon and Aquaman, Ariel's father, and Neptune all have beards? I mean, that's not very aquatic, right? And this romance he's supposed to have with Mura is so forced, and I get it. Or we've got, about 2 hours. We're going to have a hard time having a reasonable love story happening. But my God, there was just no effort at all. Like Mortal Engines, which I also did a review on, it's just, hey, there's 2 characters, and they're in the same movie, so of course they're in love by the end of the movie because is OP as fuck, and nobody seems to really use that. She can control water with her mind. She's Aqua Magneto. The story takes place about 50% in the ocean and 50% on the beach, with a little time spent in a desert. She should be God. She has a couple good moments where, like, she uses her ability, but for the most part, she seems to forget she's, capable of just doing this all herself. This movie does a lot of the same tricks over and over again. 4 or 5 times we have scenes where the characters are talking and their voices get low and it's a moment of calm, and then explosion because the enemy's attacking. This literally happened like 4 or 5 times. It got to the point where as soon as voices got lowered, it's like, well, we're about to have an explosion, and there it goes. Twice, if we're counting post-credit scenes, does a person just find a body washed up on shore and just brings it to their house without calling anyone. Remember when I told you that there's that scene where the woman eats the goldfish? Well, we've got another scene where Mura eats flowers. This movie just keeps recycling the same stuff, and again, it all just feels like desperately trying to force this movie into a full-length picture. A lot of people did enjoy the climax of this movie, where Orm, Arthur's brother, is going to war with the last holdout in the Seven Seas that won't join his army to go attack the Earth. It's supposed to be this big deal battle. And I remember watching and feeling like, why do I just not give a damn? Because there's no stakes. The only character we really know or give a damn about in this is Orm. He's the central villain. He's not going to just randomly die. We know that. Our hero and his support staff aren't there. If Orm doesn't win this battle, who gives a damn? He still has the other 6 armies. He's still going to go invade Earth. There's no reason to care. Now, I guess you could argue, well, what about the other people? They might die. Well, here's why I don't give a damn about them. They have this queen. She leaves, then the king has her captured and supposedly executed, and they're fine with that, which is kind of weird. But then they take Orm. Orm is their new king. They swear their allegiance to Orm. And then Arthur shows up, and he challenges him. And if he wins, Arthur's the new king, and everyone's fine with that. Like they seriously treat this the way you would treat a high school football game. Like they don't even care. And then Arthur doesn't win. Then Arthur finds out that there's this magic trident, and if he shows back up on the trident, they have to be on his side. So he does, and all it really makes him do is everyone just stops fighting. Oh, wait, he's got the magic trident. Should we still fight? Should we still do this? And then they decide Arthur's going to fight Orm again. Everyone's just like, okay, we'll just wait and see how this ends. Orm wins, we'll finish killing each other, and then go invade Earth. And if Arthur wins, I guess we just don't do that. It's impossible to care about these people. They're just floating through their own story like, unfortunately, the main characters are. There's no reason to feel invested in them. In Black Panther, which I really feel that this movie was trying to be, but in Black Panther, when Warmonger supposedly kills Chitala, we see them affected by it. We see them struggling with, by law now we have to follow Killmonger. Do we do that? They're divided. It's a big deal. We see the confliction. We don't get any of that. With Aquaman, the writers seem to have taken the steps of Black Panther, the bones, but they missed all that meat, all the connected tissues, and then they realized, why is this movie only like 10 minutes long? I guess padding. Let's put padding in there instead of developing the scenes we already have. And then there's the humor in this movie. I appreciate that DC finally realized that maybe all their superheroes shouldn't be pouty and sad, but the humor isn't funny. It's not for any fault of the actor. I honestly get the impression he can be very funny, but he has nothing to work with here. And he who pulls Excalibur from the stone shall run. thing. One of the few things I wasn't thrilled with Black Panther, and don't get me wrong, I love Black Panther. I did feel like it could have used like about 5 minutes of actually seeing our protagonist being a king and making diplomatic decisions and showing us that, yeah, he is a good king. Because like Aquaman, the argument is just, well, he's better than the other guy. We want T'Challa to be king because Killmonger is worse. We want Arthur to be the king because it's better than, Orm. Why to elect someone because they're the lesser of two evils isn't something that belongs in a comic book movie, okay? That's strictly for American presidential elections. This is a perfectly fine movie to drop your kids off at. You won't feel miserable, probably, sitting through it with them. You could do better. And even with where the kids are concerned, there's still so much good stuff out to send them to. I did a thing about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That is something your kids will love and you should love. Even Bumblebee is a better choice, which I'm also about to put a review out for. Good enough isn't good enough right now. Okay, this isn't the middle of some cinematic wasteland. We've got great stuff out right now. There is no reason to settle for this movie. I do want to explain how I've been spending my holidays, because I'm sure you would love to know. I'm actually in the IRR. I did the Army thing, and then the Army Reserves, and now I'm in the Inactive Ready Reserve. Last week, I was called in for the war on Christmas. I know a lot of you are against that war. Gotta take part. I signed up, so I actually concluded it. It's over. I won the war on Christmas. I went to the North Pole. I took a squadron of soldiers. We went to Santa's workshop while the fat man and his wife and the little cookie baking elves were all in there. We put a fence around the North Pole, and we called it a prison, and we went home, and it's over. Mission accomplished. Boom! Do you like to play card games? Of course you do. Card games are fun. Perfect Ramen is Flying Spaghetti Monster approved. It contains cards and rules. Can other card games say that? I mean, I don't know, probably. Go to Darkwana.com. In the comments section, Perfect Ramen. It is on sale not for the low price of $3,672.17, $812.14, $91.34, $25, but for the low price of 62 cents now. We're going to go with the $25. That's a reasonable price. Come on. Wholesalers, contact us through the website and get the wholesale price. Sales tax. We don't want to pay that. Perfect Ramen. Okay, but seriously, please check it out. Go to my website. Check this game out, please. We've got more games coming soon. Subscribe. Leave a comment. Leave a like. Makes me very happy, guys. Thank you.